I don't know if you can tell, but perhaps I wasn't as mentally stable in August as I usually am. Let's get into it. Good evening, spooks. My name is Jess. Welcome back to my channel. Let's wrap up the 11 books that I read in the month of August. Okay? Okay. Let me start off by saying I had the greatest of intentions this month. I hope that one day I'll achieve this great intention, but I did not achieve it in August. I would like to recap and review each book as I finish it. So throughout the month, I'm recording reviews, and then at the end of the month, I can just collate all of the clips, bada bing, bada boom, I've got a recap video. So I don't have to sit here and try and recall a book that I read almost a month ago, because that memory is not serving. In August, I managed to do it for the first 3 books I read, and then I forgot. So I'm going to try again in September, okay? I'm going to be patient with myself, but that's kind of frustrating. So in a minute when I roll the clips, you will see that I did review 3 of the books, but not the rest of them. So we'll get to the rest today, okay? In person, live in the newsroom. Okay, cool. First up though, we'll go through the stats for August, and then I'll let past Jess dazzle you with her organisation. For 3 books, anyway. So, here are the stats. As I said, in the month of August, I read 11 books. 11. I read a total of 3,196 pages. I average at usually 1,500. That goes to show what was happening this month, okay? A little escapism, I think, was needed. I listened to 26 hours and 26 minutes of audio. And again, that's about double what I usually listen to. So I was really on one. Despite reading many books, my average rating was still only 3.77, which is, pretty good. Pretty good. Not great, not amazing, not 5 stars, but pretty good. And as we probably expected, my most read genre this month was, of course, horror. I did dabble with a little bit of fantasy, a little general fiction, a novel in verse, a little historical fiction, and a little literary fiction. So there was some dabbling happening, but first and foremost, we are a horror reader. Out of the 11 books that I actually own all of them, I have all of them, I only listened to 2 of them, so the rest were all physical eyes on page reading, which blows my mind that I managed to find time to do that. It was also my birthday in the month of August, so I did have 2 days off work, and there was a bank holiday. Maybe that helped me out, who knows, but I'm impressed with myself either way. So I'm going to go back to past Jess now, and she is going to recap the first 3 books I read in August, and then it'll be back to you in the newsroom, present Jess, and so I can go through the other 7? 6. Wait. 8. Wow. You know what? For a little slice of reality, I'm leaving that in there. Me, the accountant, cannot deduct 3 from 11. There is nothing going on up there. There is one little marble rolling around, bing, 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 inside my brain. Nothing's happening. I can't deduct 3 from 11. I can't work backwards, I can only move forwards. Speaking of which, let's move forwards and roll the clips for the first 3 books I read. First up in the month of August, on the 2nd of August no less, I finished reading I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me by Jameson Shea, and I gave this a very respectable 3.5 stars. This novel is compared to the likes of House of Hollow. Mario has joined us, and I actually bought that very recently, so I have that on my shelf and I'm quite looking forward to reading that if that's the case. It was giving me Black Swan vibes naturally because it is a ballet-focused horror. So kind of makes sense. A little bit of a fever dream as well, which is very similar to Black Swan. It really highlights the competitiveness of ballet and dance in general, and the injustice of this main character who is black and how hard she struggles to make it to the top, even though she is the best there. So we are led to believe that she is held back from succeeding, not because of her lack of talents, but because of the colour of her skin. So what does our main character do to fix this injustice? Well, she goes down to the Paris catacombs, is that how you pronounce that? And she makes a deal with a river of blood. a sentient river of blood, her ambition starts to turn into something more sinister, and it becomes a battle of success, a battle against each other, a battle to survive dance, to survive her friends, to survive her enemies, to survive the ballet, and to survive the creature that comes from the river of blood. Okay. It's a wild ride and it is really well written, and it's not like anything I've ever read before. Maybe it will be like House of Hollow. I will let you know once I've read it. I would love to take a seat right now and go through the quotes that I have tabbed, but unfortunately I listened to this via audiobook and so I have tabbed nothing. But I love the audiobook so much that I had to have the physical copy on my shelf. So maybe that tells you all you need to know. Let's move on. Next up in the month of August, I finished reading Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I finished this on the 6th of August, but to be fair, I started it mid-July. Oh, the 24th, okay. So like towards the end of July. It's a chunky book, okay? And I rated this 5 stars. I love this so much. I think I did love Six of Crows more, but I love the ending of this. I loved how everything tied together. I'm trying very hard not to give spoilers, but I did shed a tear or two at the later chapters where certain things happen and people are lost. It's really hard not to give spoilers. I've never read something where I am so invested in all of the individual characters' stories and also their story as a whole. So their journey throughout this book, together and individually, were just... I was captivated by those stories, and these are very well-rounded characters. Leigh Bardugo does not sleep on building her characters. The friendships and relationships in this book are so slow burn, so complex that you really are rooting for all of them by the end of it, and it is just so fulfilling. I never knew that I would be interested in this sort of genre or this sort of plot line, but here I am giving this entire duology a 5-star. So maybe I am a new person thanks to Leigh Bardugo. I'm just gonna have to start picking up other things she's written now. I am interested in reading the Hellbent... Is that a duology? Is it Hellbent and Ninth House? So I might have to give that a go, but otherwise this was amazing, 5 stars. This is where we will be seated to go through my favourite quotes of the books that I have read so far. My wash machine sounds like it's trying to break out of the house. Let's talk quotes from Crooked Kingdom. Let's get down and dirty with these thoughts, shall we? Here is a quote, 31 pages in, that sums up Kaz's outward personality, okay? The things that he wants people to think about him. But we know deep down inside that he is marshmallow squishy. But he says, "It was that or snap her neck and make it look like she fell down the stairs, Wylan. I think I showed remarkable restraint. Move." So this is, if you've read the book, this is when he breaks into, what is that guy's I don't know the guy's name. This is when they break into Van Eck's house, and Van Eck's little girl, is it Van Eck's house? Not sure. But his daughter wakes up and sees Kaz and Wylan breaking in to the office, and Kaz is like, you know what, he just put the fear of life into her so that she would go back to bed and pretend that she never saw anything. And he's like, you know what, that's nice, that's me being nice, okay? I could have killed her. I love Kaz so much. Let's have a look at his marshmallowy side. Okay, it's very subtle. You have to look real deep to find his marshmallow soft side, but they're talking about Inej when she has to walk between the two silos on a tightrope, basically. And she's saying, "I don't need a net." And he's like, "There will be a net. It's in place behind the silo guardhouse already, under a stack of sandbags." The silence in the tomb was sudden and complete. Inej couldn't believe what she was hearing. "I don't need a net." Kaz consulted his watch. Didn't ask. I literally love him. I love him so much. I'm like, this is him showing that he really cares about her well-being in a very assertive, I didn't ask for your opinion. Shut the heck up and accept your net. And then if you want to get super marshmallow, let's go to page 185. When Inej is saying to Kaz, "If Van Eck had broken my legs and I was useless to you, what would you have done?" And he says, "I would come for you," he said. And when he saw the wary look she shot him, he said it again. "I would come for you. And if I couldn't walk, I'd crawl to you. And no matter how broken we were, we'd fight our way out together. Knives drawn, pistols blazing, because that's what we do. We never stopped fighting." I would crawl to you? Are you kidding me? Okay, Kaz. 1-0 Kaz. Okay, I appreciate these are very Kaz and Inej quotes, but I'm just on one, okay? Let me have my happiness.
And this is a moment where, so it kind of relates to the quote I just said. We're now on page 314 though, but here we go with a callback where Inej whispers, "We'll fight our way out together," callback. And Nina glanced from Inej to Kaz and saw they both wore the same expression. Nina knew that look. It came after the shipwreck. This is the shipwreck that she suffered with Matthias. When the tide moved against you and the sky had gone dark, it was the first sight of land, the hope of shelter and even salvation that might await you on a distant shore. That's how Inej and Kaz look at each other, like they are salvation. You've never known a love like it, I swear. I have skipped a few tabs because honestly, I'm just on my Kaz and Inej game, so the last tab, you just need to know, okay? You just need to know. If this doesn't make you want to pick up this series and fall in love with Kaz and Inej falling in love with each other, then I don't know what will. Okay, so Kaz is revealing part of his plan, which by the way is such a Kaz thing, and I absolutely love it, that you are like, oh my god, how are we going to get out of this? And then Kaz is like, guess what I did earlier? And he just has a plan Z, okay? He has a plan W for everything. He is so well prepared. It makes him amazing at his, I'm going to use the term job lightly, but this is where he says that he also paid a stop to the menagerie where Inej used to be enslaved and caused a little ruckus, okay? And he says, I also had her stop at the menagerie. And this is Inej. She smiled then, her eyes red, her cheeks scattered with some kind of dust. It was a smile he thought he might die to earn again. He would die to see her smile. Who did this to you walked so that could run. 5 stars. 5 stars. Then in August, I read Dear Everybody by Michael Kimball. I finished this morning, the 8th of August, and it was to fulfill the prompt, a book I've owned for a long time. I originally was going to read How We Are Hungry by Dave Eggers, but then changed my mind after reading the first story. And I finished this today. It was a very quick read. This novel is not usually in the format that I would like, so it is told in newspaper clippings, lots and lots of letters, encyclopedia snippets, school report cards, etc. It is a compilation of all of these things put together by Jonathan's brother Robert. This is fiction, by the way. Pretty confident, because in the next clip where I go through my quotes, I'm about to hate on the father and the brother so badly, but it's fiction. It's a work of fiction. These are not real people. And basically, Jonathan commits suicide at the age of, I think, 33. And the novel is a collection of all of the pieces of memories that he had collected, so his encyclopedia clippings, etc., and all the letters he wrote to everybody. Dear everybody. His ex-wife, his mum, his dad, his brother, the sun, Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, his teachers, his doctors, everything and everyone. There is no flowery writing, there are no descriptions, it's very to the point. So the fact that it's written in letters is something I don't particularly like anyway, and then the fact there is no descriptions, no flowery writing is again something I don't particularly like. But this was still a 3.5 star read for me. Did I miss that from the start? This is a 3.5 star read for me. It was so atmospheric, and bear with me because I've just said there's no description, but the atmosphere was, you could feel this building up to a catastrophe and you can't stop it because the book starts by saying Jonathan has killed himself, so you know what happens, but we start off when Jonathan was born and we get his mum's diary entries. We then get his letters that he wrote in the mind of himself as a child. So you are there from the very beginning and you see all these small things build up into something that is a catastrophe and you can't stop it. It's so atmospheric because it's so stressful. It's just very raw. It's very raw and I really recommend it. Well, hi and welcome back. How was that for you? Was that format working for you? I would like to do that in future, but where I recap every book that I've read in that fashion. What did you think? I don't know. Did I talk too much? Is this going to be a long video? I am currently on sprints with Gavin and I've got 35 minutes left, so I'm going to have to make this sharpish. Wait, I didn't make my cup of tea. Please 1 second. I've just said I need to be quick, but I also need my cup of tea, you know? The vibes need to be immaculate. I have returned with my sleepy spiced apple and chamomile tea because it is autumn. It's the 3rd of September. I am recording this August wrap-up on the 3rd of September. Nothing is going to plan, but I have my autumnal sleepy tea. I'm going to put it here behind the books, and I'm going to hope that 1, I don't knock over the book stack, the 11 high book stack, and 2, that my cat does not dip his little paws into the boiling water. that would be catastrophic. Let's get started. So I have already recapped for you I Feed Her to the Beast and Beast is Me, Dear Everybody and Crooked Kingdom. So I will not recap those for you because you don't need to waste your time or mine. Okay, let me move them to the dump pile. So next up, in the month of August, I read the book, the beautiful book, Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White. Look at the sprayed edges. We have to take a moment each time I show this book because it's stunning. Where are you going to go? I'm going to have to make these reviews kind of quick fire, otherwise we're going to be here forever. So I'm just going to give you the top level information, okay? I'm going to give you a top level summary. This is all you need to know. Is that the queer rep in this is fantastic. I rated it 3.5 stars just because it was a sci-fi, which is outside of the genre I usually read, but I did enjoy it very much. However, there were no answers at the end, or there weren't many answers in the end. Things weren't really explained. I don't always vibe well with speculative fiction or open endings, so struggled a tiny little bit with that, but otherwise, the writing's beautiful, the representation is fantastic, it's a beautiful looking book, and the idea is very original in my opinion. So definitely would recommend if you're a sci-fi fan. I would be willing to try another sci-fi, so let me know if you have any recs. But we'll get to that at the end. Next up in the month of August, this is how drinks get spilled, Jess. Next up in the month of August, I read Maeve Fly by CJ Lead. And I rated this masterpiece a 5-star. If I could rate it 6 stars, I would. It was uncomfortable, disgusting, unreasonable, hideous, unpleasant. So many other awful words, and I loved every second of it. This main character is not a likable person, okay? It's not a quirky, I'm not like other girls, I'm a serial killer. She is not a nice person. She is not quirky. You can't argue this away with an upsetting backstory. She's just not very nice. That's probably not what you call murderers. Not very nice. That's not very nice what you did to that person. You're mean. You're mean, Mayfly. You're mean. It oozes enough anguish, alienation, and angst to drown the world, said Grady Hendrix. Honestly, this was a debut novel, which blows my mind because it was incredible, and I will be picking up everything this author releases in the future. Okay. It was a 300-page horror. It was for my author's debut prompt from my TBR game. So that's why I read it, and also because look at the cover, look at the synopsis, it's fantastic. I didn't actually recap this, but I read Dear Everybody. Have I already told you this? Who knows? I read Dear Everybody for my book I've owned for a long time prompt, and I read Hell Followed With Us for my LGBTQ plus characters and or author prompt, and it filled that prompt. Such good rep, such good rep. But anyway, I read it in 2 days and absolutely loved it. 10 out of 10 would recommend, 5 stars. Next up, oh, he's on the floor. Oops. Next up in the month of August, I read The House with the Golden Door by Elodie Harper. And this one, although I own the hardback, I fully audioed and I enjoyed my journey. I rated it 3 stars. It is a sequel to The Wolf Den. There is a third in the trilogy, obviously. And it has a case of the second in a trilogy curse. You know what I mean? Where it's not as fresh and exciting as the first one. It's not wrapping up things like the third one will. It's just kind of a little dull. I spoke about it at length with my friend Kirsty because she soft DNF'd it, I think soft DNF'd at about 100 pages because she hated who the main character had become. And I'm interested to talk to her about it because I agree the main character has become very unlikable. She's become what she hates most, but I think that is very impressive storytelling from Elodie Harper because she's fighting evil with evil and she is becoming who she's been taught to be. Do you know what I mean? Am I making sense or is my marble rolling around? I feel like she's had so many unpleasant experiences, it's shaped who she is as a person, and who that person is just not very nice. So I'm very interested to see what happens to everybody in the third book. It was a good read and I got through it quite quickly. It just wasn't as amazing as the first one, but they were very big shoes to fill. So I believe this falls under historical fiction / fantasy maybe, a little mythology maybe, but mostly historical fiction, and I am not usually one for historical fiction, so high praise from me in general. Tastes like apple and incoming sleep. I love a chamomile tea. It reminds me of... That's where the danger happens. It reminds me of living with my grandma, where she would make me a chamomile tea with a spoonful of honey in before I went to bed. and life made sense, you know? Next up, I read, we've got to go in order, Mario. We're not fucking around here. The Last White Man by Mohsen Hamid. This was a double up prompt of a hardback, evidence, and a second-hand book. I think I bought it for maybe, 50p to £1.50 from a car boot sale, can't remember. I bought my uncle, this cat is a menace. I bought my uncle a brand new copy for his birthday, hoping that he would read it and I would read it and we would start a little mini book club of this one book. I quite enjoyed Mohsen's Exit West and I'm interested to read, insert cover here. Can't remember what this book was called, but my friend recently read it and said it was good, so that's enough for me. I like the author, I like the way he creates a story, I like his ideas. I did not like the writing style in this one, and I know that's not the author's writing style for every book, so that's why I'm interested in picking up another. But this one, the sentences were several pages long, and I'm not exaggerating. There was a sentence that was, I think, a page and a half long or a whole page long, and it was ridiculous. It read like a stream of consciousness, and I know that's probably done on purpose, but I hated it. Please stop. So I rated it 3 stars for that, which is still a very good rating considering I did not like the writing style. Quite important. But I loved everything else, so it's a 3-star from me. I will say it's not very plot heavy. Considering the subject, I thought it was going to be massively plot heavy, but it was much more of a character development slice of life, except the life is crazy dystopian world. There's no white people left. It was a wild concept, but execution wasn't fab. Next up, I read Everybody Looking by Candice Ilo, and I read this for the prompt of an author whose ethnicity is different to my own. That was a mouthful. And I rated this 3 stars, which is surprising for me because I love a novel in verse, and I just feel like novel in verses? Does that make sense? I want to say it like novels in verse. Oh wait, was that better? You know, like when you say passers-by instead of passerbys, or cul-de-sac instead of cul-de-sacs. Novels in verse, novel in verses. Unsure, that's irrelevant. I really enjoy reading those because they're amazing. They're a perfect crossover of powerful poetry, but you're still getting a whole story. Love it. I love it so much. I love Black Flamingo. That's probably my favourite I've read so far. And so I had high expectations, and mostly I enjoyed the writing style, which is why overall I gave it 3 stars, but I found the plot very much lacking. I don't know if this is based on a true story because there was some trauma in the middle of it that was revealed and it just felt like it wasn't really pushing the story forward. It was just shown for maybe shock factor or maybe to show some depth to the characters, but I just thought it was okay, which is a shame because I was really excited about this one. Next up, I read Mammoth by Eva Baltasar, and this was a birthday gift, which I read in 2 days because I got super hooked on the story, and it is only 103 pages long. I rated this 4 stars, a very respectable score. There is a plot twist reveal, I guess you'd call it, which both crushed me and shocked me. So I love when I do not see a plot twist coming or a reveal coming, and it was written so beautifully, which is surprising from translated fiction because sometimes it just falls a little flat because things are lost in translation. That's the expression. And this did not fall victim to that. It was beautiful. And I'm definitely going to pick up something by the author. It is technically a standalone, but also part of a group of short novels. I don't know how else to call it. It's not part of a series, but it's part of some novels that are all grouped together. I'm doing such a good job today. And I would like to pick up other ones because I don't think technically this is the 3rd one that was released, but it's not a sequel, so I didn't need to read the first 2. And anyway, it was really good. So yeah, a great present. The penultimate book that I read in August was, of course, Rose Madder by Stephen King, the one I accidentally threw on the floor a minute ago. And I published a whole video on this book because I was rereading it as my slump solver from 10 plus years ago, and I rated this 4 stars. It was going to be a 5-star, but as I said in my video, there is a lot of hateful language, which I think was done to show how awful the main character is, but I don't care because I hate reading it. It just does not sit right with me, so it can't be a 5-star for that reason alone. But otherwise, an incredible story, so powerful, so well written, absolutely stunning. And I definitely want to pick up something else by Stephen King now because this is the only Stephen King I've read. Is that a lie? That's definitely a lie. I'm pretty sure I have read The Shining and Pet Sematary before, but I don't remember Pet Sematary at all, and it's one of my favourite horror films, so I think I would like to reread that one. 4 stars. Last but not least, in the month of August, I read
Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Are we R.F.? No, we're Rebecca F. Kuang. By Rebecca F. Kuang. And I read this because my friend has just started up a book club, and this is the first book that we are to read, which I think is going to make for such an interesting discussion. I rated it 4 stars, and I myself am surprised. I've owned this for quite a long time. I think I bought it when it was pretty much brand new, and it's just sat on my shelf ever since because although it's not that long, it's 336 pages, but it just felt intimidating, and I don't know why. I thought it was going to be an extremely heavy read, but it was quite light and fluffy considering the subject. It was written so well that it was very quick, it was very punchy, and I got through it in 3 days. Who even am I? I don't know. I'm really interested to talk to others about this and see their opinion on it. I can't even tell you what I liked about it. I just couldn't put it down. And it's not the genre I usually read. I've only ever read one other book by this author and hated it, so I didn't know what to expect. But I'll tell you, it was a 4 star, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd pick up anything else by the author. Maybe, I don't know. Look, Babel just really put me off, okay? It just really put me off. I'm sorry. I'm the problem. I'm the problem. It's me. Hi. That was a month and a half. I've got 16 minutes left on my sprint, so I'm going to leave it there. But thank you so much for watching. As always, if you have any recommendations for what did I want? Sci-fi. Any queer sci-fi novels that are going to get me hooked, that are going to be real page turners, please drop them in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in a video very, very soon. Bye!
Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to